The discovery in deep space. Dr. Sarah Chen squinted at the radiation readings flooding her tablet's screen. The numbers made no sense. Out here in the Kuiper Belt, background radiation should have been consistent and predictable. Instead, the sensors on her maintenance vessel, the Wayfarer, were picking up complex energy patterns that pulse with an almost organic rhythm. "Wayfarer, this is Outpost 7, her radio crackled. "Your scheduled maintenance route ends 3,000 kilometers from your current position. Please explain deviation." Sarah adjusted her pilot's chair, studying the mysterious energy signature. After 15 years as a deep space mechanic, she learned to trust her instincts. "Outpost 7, I'm tracking an anomalous radiation pattern, requesting permission to investigate." A long pause followed. Out here, at the edge of human space, protocol was usually flexible. Still, recent tensions with the Centaurian colonies had everyone on edge. "Permission granted, Wayfarer, but maintain continuous contact. If you go dark for more than 10 minutes, we're sending in the cavalry." "Understood." Sarah guided her ship toward the source of the readings. As she drew closer, her sensors began picking up something else. A massive structure floating in the void, nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. The object was roughly cylindrical, about the size of an old Earth aircraft carrier. Its surface seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, but with distinct patterns that suggested purpose rather than chaos. Most intriguingly, it was covered in what appeared to be thousands of smaller objects, each about the size of a human hand. Sarah activated her ship's external lights, illuminating the structure. The smaller objects immediately responded, their surfaces rippling with iridescent patterns. They weren't random debris or space junk. They were moving with clear intention, reorganizing themselves across the cylinder surface. "Outpost 7. She transmitted. I found something. Sending visual feed now." She maneuvered the Wayfarer closer, engaging her ship's analysis protocols. The cylinder appeared to be a research station of some kind, but unlike anything humans had built. Its design was too organic, too fluid. The smaller objects, she hesitated to call them creatures, continued their mesmerizing dance across its surface. Her ship's computer pinged, having completed its initial analysis. The results made her breath catch. The station wasn't just collecting data, it was actively studying nearby space, including human outposts and vessels. More surprisingly, it had been doing so for at least 3 decades, completely undetected. "Dr. Chen, Outpost 7's transmission carried a new edge of urgency. Our long-range sensors are picking up unusual activity around the object. We recommend immediate withdrawal." Sarah looked up from her readings just in time to see several of the smaller entities detach from the cylinder surface. They moved through space with impossible grace, approaching her ship. Their surfaces rippled with complex patterns that her sensors interpreted as electromagnetic communications. Protocol dictated she retreat. Common sense screamed at her to fire up the engines and run. But 15 years of working in deep space had taught her something else. True discoveries rarely came from following protocol. "Outpost 7. She transmitted. The entities appear to be attempting communication. I'm going to try something unusual." Before they could respond, she activated her ship's external speakers and began broadcasting a simple mathematical sequence, the first 10 prime numbers. The response was immediate. The entities halted their approach, their surfaces erupting in cascading patterns of light. Then, to her amazement, they began arranging themselves in geometric shapes that corresponded to the next 5 prime numbers in the sequence. "They're intelligent," she breathed. "Not just intelligent. They understand abstract mathematics." The entities resumed their approach, but now their movements seemed almost hesitant, careful. When they reached her ship, they didn't attempt to breach the hull. Instead, they arranged themselves across her forward viewport in a pattern that slowly resolved into a recognizable shape, a double helix. Sarah's hands trembled as she realized what she was seeing. These weren't just random alien entities. They were probes, research tools created by some advanced civilization, and they had been studying humanity, learning about them, perhaps preparing for this very moment of contact. Outpost 7, she transmitted, her voice steady despite her racing heart. We're going to need a first contact team out here, and tell them to bring their best mathematicians. The entities shifted again, their pattern changing to display a series of complex equations that Sarah recognized from her quantum mechanics studies. But these equations contained variables she'd never seen before, suggesting physics principles that human science hadn't yet discovered. As she began documenting everything she could, Sarah felt a familiar thrill run through her. This was why she'd chosen to work at the edge of known space. Not for the solitude or the danger, but for moments like this, when humanity's understanding of the universe was about to expand dramatically. The entities continued their display, each new pattern more complex than the last. Sarah realized she wasn't just witnessing first contact. She was participating in humanity's first alien academic conference, and somehow she suspected this was just the beginning of a much larger discovery. The neural interface. 3 days after her initial discovery, Sarah found herself surrounded by a team of Earth's top xenobiologists and mathematicians aboard the research vessel Prometheus. The alien cylinder, now dubbed the Archive by the science team, continued its silent vigil in space, its surface still alive with the shifting patterns of its mechanical servants. They're not just studying us. Dr. Marcus Wong, the team's lead mathematician, explained as he reviewed the latest data streams. They're teaching us. These equations, they're like breadcrumbs, leading us toward understanding principles we haven't even theorized yet. Sarah nodded, but her attention was focused on something else. Over the past 72 hours, she'd noticed the entity's behavior changing. Their movements had become more synchronized, more purposeful. They were forming increasingly complex patterns across the archive's surface, creating what looked like circuitry diagrams. They want us to build something, she announced suddenly, interrupting a heated debate about quantum mechanics. The room fell silent as she projected her observations onto the main screen. Look at these patterns. They're not random. They're engineering schematics. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the team's engineering specialist, leaned forward, her eyes widening. She's right. These patterns, they're showing us how to construct some kind of interface. But the technology they're describing, she shook her head. It's decades beyond our current capabilities. Maybe not, Sarah muttered, already pulling up the Prometheus's fabrication specs on her tablet. The basic principles are similar to our neural interface technology. We just need to modify the quantum field generators to match their frequency patterns. The next 12 hours passed in a blur of calculations and construction. Sarah worked alongside the engineering team, combining human technology with the aliens' designs. The result was a sleek, helmet-like device that hummed with potential. You can't seriously be considering using that, Dr. Wong protested when Sarah reached for the interface. We have no idea what it might do to a human brain. They've been studying us for 30 years, Sarah countered, securing the device over her head. If they wanted to harm us, they've had plenty of opportunities. Before anyone could stop her, she activated the interface. The world exploded into light and information. Sarah gasped as her consciousness expanded, connecting with something vast and ancient. The archive wasn't just a research station. It was a node in a galaxy-spanning network, collecting and preserving knowledge from thousands of civilizations. The entities, she learned, were called the archivists. Created by a long-vanished species known as the predecessors, they were tasked with preserving knowledge and preparing younger civilizations for integration into a larger galactic community. But their mission had taken on new urgency in recent centuries. Images flooded Sarah's mind. Vast fleets of crystalline ships, worlds reduced to ash, civilizations erased from existence. The destroyers, as the archivists labeled them, moved through the galaxy like a virus, eliminating any species they deemed unworthy of existence. They're coming, Sarah whispered, her voice carrying both fear and determination. The archivists, They're not just here to study us. They're here to warn us. Through the interface, she felt the archivist's appreciation of humanity's potential. Despite their technological limitations, humans possessed something rare: adaptability, creativity, and an unstoppable drive to overcome challenges. The archivists believed humanity might succeed where other species have failed. The neural connection deepened, and Sarah understood the full scope of what the archivists were offering: access to advanced technology, scientific knowledge beyond human understanding, and most importantly, time to prepare. But it came with a price. Humanity would need to evolve, to grow beyond their current limitations and internal conflicts. How long? Dr. Rodriguez asked, reading the fear in Sarah's expression. 5 years, Sarah replied, the knowledge burning in her mind. The destroyers will reach our sector in 5 years. The archivists can help us prepare, but they can't fight this battle for us. This is humanity's test: pass or fail, survive or perish. The room erupted in chaos as the implications sank in, but Sarah barely noticed, her mind still linked with the archive. Through the interface, she could feel the archivist's hope, not just for humanity's survival, but for their potential to become something greater. As the neural connection began to fade, Sarah received one final message from the archivists. It wasn't transmitted in words or images, but in pure concept. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their intelligence, but their ability to face impossible odds with determination and ingenuity. The archivists hadn't chosen Earth by chance. They had recognized in humans a spark of the same fire that had once made their own creators great. Sarah removed the interface, her hands trembling but her voice steady. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," she ordered. "We have work to do." The coming storm. The Earth Security Council chamber had never felt so small. Sarah stood before the assembled leaders, her neural interface data projected on the massive screens behind her. 2 months had passed since first contact with the archivists, and humanity's response had been predictably chaotic. "You expect us to believe," General Hammond interrupted her presentation, "that these mechanical parasites are here to help us fight off some mysterious alien threat?" His skepticism was shared by many around the table, their faces a mixture of disbelief and barely concealed fear. "With respect, General," Sarah replied, bringing up a new holographic display, "the archivists have already proven their value. The quantum shielding technology they provided has revolutionized our defense systems, and that's just the beginning." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward, her hands dancing across the holographic controls. "The archivist's database contains technological innovations that could advance human civilization by centuries. Clean energy, medical breakthroughs, faster than light travel. It's all there, but we need time to understand and implement it." The council chamber erupted in overlapping arguments. Some demanded immediate military preparation, others called for diplomatic attempts to contact the destroyers, and a vocal minority insisted the whole thing was an elaborate hoax. The debate was interrupted by a sudden tremor that shook the building. All eyes turned to the windows as a shadow fell over Washington, D.C. The archive, its massive form now adorned with pulsing lines of energy, had descended into Earth's atmosphere. "They're not waiting for our permission," Sarah announced, reading the data streaming through her neural interface. "The archivists are beginning the implementation phase, whether we're ready or not." Across the globe, similar scenes were unfolding. Smaller archive vessels, previously hidden throughout the solar system, emerged from their concealment. They positioned themselves over major cities, their surfaces writhing with activity as thousands of archivists deployed. "This is what they were preparing for," Sarah explained, her voice cutting through the panic. "The archivists aren't just giving us technology. They're helping us build a defensive network. Every major population center will be protected by quantum shields within the month." "And what happens when these shields fail?" General Hammond demanded. "What happens when your destroyers arrive, and we're depending on alien technology we barely understand?" Sarah smiled, and for the first time, there was a glimmer of fierce pride in her expression. That's where humanity comes in. The archivists aren't fighting this battle for us. They're giving us the tools to fight it ourselves. She gestured to Dr. Wong, who activated another holographic display. We've already begun integrating archivist technology with human innovation. Our scientists and engineers aren't just copying their designs, we're improving them. The display showed prototype weapons that combined archivist quantum mechanics with human military doctrine, shields that adapted using neural network algorithms, and spacecraft that merge organic and mechanical components in ways neither species had previously conceived. The destroyers expect to find a primitive civilization, Sarah continued. Instead, they'll face something unprecedented. Humanity armed with advanced technology, and the creativity to use it in ways even the archivists never imagined. A young diplomat from Kenya leaned forward. And what makes them so certain we'll succeed where other species failed? Sarah's interface hummed as she accessed the relevant data. Because we're different. The civilizations the destroyers previously encountered either rejected the archivists, help out of fear, or became completely dependent on their technology. Humanity is doing neither. She brought up images of research facilities around the world, where human scientists worked alongside archivist entities. We're learning from them, but we're not simply copying. We're questioning, innovating, finding new applications they never considered. The archivists believe this adaptability, this drive to understand and improve rather than simply accept, is what makes us unique. 4 years, Sarah concluded, her voice firm. That's how long we have until the destroyers arrive. The archivists can help us prepare, but the fight will be ours. The question isn't whether we'll accept their help, it's how we'll use it. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity stood at a crossroads, facing both its greatest threat and its greatest opportunity for advancement. The choice, as the archivists had intended, was theirs to make. General Hammond was the first to speak. If these destroyers are coming to test our worth, he said, a new resolve in his voice, then let's show them exactly what humanity is capable of. The vote that followed was unanimous. Operation Firestorm, humanity's preparation for interstellar war, would begin immediately. As Sarah left the chamber, her neural interface detected satisfaction from the archivists. The first hurdle had been cleared. Now the real work could begin. Alliance of necessity. The lunar defense complex sprawled across the moon's sea of tranquility, a testament to how much humanity had accomplished in just 18 months. Sarah watched through the observation dome as teams of humans and archivists worked together, constructing weapons platforms that merged both species' technologies. The latest test results are promising. Dr. Rodriguez reported, bringing up a holographic display. The hybrid quantum torpedoes performed 300% above projected specifications. The archivists seem almost surprised by how quickly we're advancing. Sarah nodded, her neural interface humming with constant data streams. The archivists' surprise had become increasingly evident as humanity took their base technologies and transformed them in unexpected ways. Where the archivists thought linearly, humans made intuitive leaps that often yielded breakthrough results. Show me the Aegis project status, Sarah requested. The hologram shifted to display a massive orbital defense network. Thousands of satellites, each powered by a fusion of human and archivist technology, formed an interconnected web around Earth. But it was the modifications humanity had added that made the system unique. The predictive targeting algorithms are revolutionary, Dr. Wong explained, joining them at the display. The archivists designed the quantum weapons, but our AI systems have evolved them beyond their original parameters. We're not just preparing to defend Earth, we're creating entirely new forms of combat. A flash of movement caught Sarah's attention. Through the dome, she watched as a prototype fighter screamed past, its hull rippling with adaptive camouflage. The pilot, connected to the ship through a modified neural interface, executed maneuvers that should have been impossible. 3 years ago, we could barely reach Mars, Sarah mused. Now we're building ships that can outmaneuver anything in known space. But will it be enough? Her interface pulsed with data from the archive. The destroyers had been detected at the edge of the Orc cloud, their advanced scouts probing humanity's defenses. Each encounter had ended the same way. The scouts would approach, analyze Earth's apparent technological level, and retreat to report their findings. "They still think we're primitive," Dr. Rodriguez said, reading the data. "The quantum shielding masks our true capabilities. As far as they can tell, we're barely into our space age." "That's our advantage," Sarah replied. "The destroyers expect to find an easy target. Instead, they'll face something unprecedented. A species that's taken archivist technology and evolved it into something new." The observation dome darkened as another test began. In orbit above them, a prototype weapon platform activated. It fired a burst of energy that the archivists had deemed impossible. A quantum cascade that could disrupt the very fabric of space-time. "The containment field is holding," Dr. Wong reported, monitoring the readings. "Power output is stable at 120% of theoretical maximum. The archivists never imagined their technology could be pushed this far." Sarah's interface buzzed with incoming data. The archivists were learning from humanity just as much as humanity was learning from them. The partnership had evolved beyond simple technology exchange into true collaboration. "We've got movement in the outer system," a technician called out. Long-range sensors detecting multiple signatures matching destroyer scout vessels. The room tensed, but Sarah remained calm. "Launch the Phantoms," she ordered. The Phantoms were humanity's latest innovation. Autonomous drones that combined archivist stealth technology with human combat eye. They were the perfect counter to the destroyers' probing tactics. Through her neural link, Sarah watched as the Phantoms engaged the scout ships. The battle was brief but decisive. The destroyer vessels, expecting primitive human technology, were completely unprepared for the sophistication of the attack. Within minutes, they were retreating in disarray. "They'll be back," General Hammond stated, having silently entered the observation room. "And next time, they'll bring their main fleet." "Good," Sarah replied, her voice hard. "Let them come. Every probe they send, every scout we defeat, gives us more data on their capabilities. By the time they launch their main assault, we'll know exactly how to fight them." The general studied the battle data scrolling across the displays. "The archivists chose well," he admitted. "Any other species would have either rejected their help or become dependent on it. We're doing neither." Sarah's interface hummed with agreement from the archivists. Humanity's approach was unique. They weren't just using the advanced technology. They were understanding it, improving it, and combining it with their own innovations in ways that defied conventional logic. 2 more years, Sarah said, watching as the Phantoms returned to their orbital stations. 2 more years to prepare, to innovate, to build our defenses. When the destroyers come in force, they'll find Earth ready. Not just with advanced technology, but with the human determination to use it in ways they've never encountered before. The observation dome cleared, revealing the Earth hanging in space above them. The planet looked peaceful, but Sarah knew better. Beneath that serene exterior, humanity was preparing for the greatest challenge in its history, and for the first time, she truly believed they might survive it. Evolution's edge. The destroyer fleet emerged from hyperspace in waves, their crystalline ships darkening the space around Earth like an approaching storm. Sarah stood in the Lunar Command Center, watching as humanity's sensor networks tracked over 10,000 vessels entering the solar system. All defense platforms online, Dr. Rodriguez reported, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. Quantum shields at maximum capacity. The Aegis network is tracking every ship in their fleet. Sarah's neural interface hummed with activity as both human and archivist systems coordinated their response. The past 3 years had transformed Earth's defenses into something unprecedented, a perfect fusion of archivist technology and human innovation. "They're broadcasting," Dr. Wong announced. The message that filled the command screens was brief and coldly precise. "Your species has been evaluated and found wanting. Prepare for extinction. Send our response, Sarah ordered, a slight smile playing at her lips. The message they'd prepared was equally brief. Come and try. The battle began with a feint. The destroyers launched what appeared to be a full frontal assault, exactly as humanity's strategic AI had predicted. Their crystalline ships formed perfect geometric patterns, their weapon systems charging with familiar energy signatures. But humanity was ready. The Aegis network activated, its quantum shields flickering to life. The first wave of destroyer weapons splashed harmlessly against the barriers, their energy dissipated and redirected through pathways the archivists had never imagined possible. Phase 1 complete, General Hammond announced. They've committed their forces, launched the Phantoms. Thousands of autonomous drones emerged from hidden bases across the solar system. Unlike their previous encounters with scout ships, these Phantoms were running advanced combat algorithms evolved through 3 years of simulated warfare. They struck from impossible angles, their quantum weapons bypassing the destroyer's crystalline shields through weaknesses only human intuition had identified. Sarah's interface pulsed with satisfaction from the archivists. The destroyer's perfect formations began to break apart as they faced attacks they couldn't predict or counter. Their responses, based on millennia of unchanged tactical doctrine, were useless against humanity's adaptive strategies. Multiple destroyer vessels attempting to retreat, a technician reported. Their fleet cohesion is dropping. Now for the real surprise, Sarah said. Activate the Prometheus protocol. Deep within the lunar surface, humanity's greatest achievement hummed to life. It was a weapon that combined archivist quantum mechanics with human theoretical physics in ways that defied conventional understanding. The archivists had deemed it impossible, until human engineers proved otherwise. Space itself seemed to ripple as the Prometheus protocol activated. The destroyer fleet found their perfect formations transformed into a deadly liability as localized space-time distortions turned their precise movements into chaos. Ships collided, weapons fire curved back on itself, and carefully planned strategies dissolved into confusion. Through her neural interface, Sarah sensed something new from the archivists. Not just satisfaction, but revelation. Humanity hadn't just survived the destroyer's assault. They'd revolutionized the very nature of space warfare. They're sending another transmission, Dr. Wong reported, surprise evident in his voice. The message that appeared was different from the first. How? Your species was primitive. Your technology basic. This defense should not be possible. Sarah stepped forward, activating the communication array. You evaluated our technology, she replied. You should have evaluated our potential. Humanity doesn't just use tools. We transform them. We adapt. We evolve. And now, thanks to the archivists' knowledge and our innovation, we've evolved beyond your ability to destroy us. The destroyer fleet hung in space, their perfect formations shattered, their confidence broken. For the first time in their long history of extermination, they faced a species that had not only survived their initial assault, but had comprehensively defeated their superior numbers. Your extinction protocols are obsolete, Sarah continued. You can retreat and reconsider your purpose, or you can continue this attack and be destroyed by the very species you deemed unworthy. Choose carefully. The response came after a long pause. This outcome was not predicted. We must reconsider. One by one, the surviving destroyer ships engaged their jump drives, disappearing into the depths of space. In the command center, celebrations erupted, but Sarah's attention was focused on the data streaming through her neural interface. The archivists were sharing something new, the true reason they had chosen to help humanity. The destroyers weren't just a threat. They were a stagnant force, culling species that might bring change to the galaxy. The archivists had been searching for a species with the creativity and determination to break this cycle. We're not done, Sarah announced to the command center. The destroyers will return, possibly with new strategies and technologies. But when they do, they'll find humanity has continued to evolve, to innovate, to transform the very boundaries of what's possible. Through her interface, she felt the archivist's agreement. Humanity had proven themselves not just worthy of survival, but worthy of leading the galaxy into a new era of advancement and discovery. The destroyer's retreat wasn't just a victory. It was the beginning of humanity's true evolution. As she looked out at Earth, peaceful and blue against the darkness of space, Sarah smiled. The archivists had given humanity knowledge, but humanity had given the galaxy something far more valuable. Proof that the impossible was only impossible until someone decided to prove otherwise.